Hey everyone, so I'm going to be doing a quick video for GCSE revision on advantages and disadvantages of using fossil fuels, nuclear and renewable energy sources when we are trying to generate enough electricity for the supply that we have, or the demand, the demand that we have. So when we're trying to supply enough for the demand that we have, okay? So generally speaking, the disadvantages of using fossil fuels or nuclear, which are non-renewable, is number one, they are non-renewable, so their supply is limited and they will eventually run out. So although they will generate enough electricity for what we need at the moment, so they will meet the demand, they will run out. So soon enough, they won't be able to meet the demand because we will run out of these fuels. They also give off carbon dioxide. This is only the fossil fuels, not the nuclear. Now, the carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, so it adds up to the greenhouse effect and increases global warming. So it is quite harmful for the environment, okay? Other greenhouse gases are methane and carbon dioxide, obviously, and water vapor, okay? Now, if you have coal and oil, they will also emit sulfur dioxide, okay? Now, this causes breathing problems for living creatures and contributes to acid rain. So, although this type of fossil fuels in nuclear, so although this type of energy resources, they will provide enough for the demand that we have, they are going to bring along with them a big number of problems, and they are problems that we cannot run away from, especially that the supply is limited, okay? So going into a little bit more detail, nuclear power, the advantages of the nuclear power is that there are no greenhouse gases, so that's good, okay? They are going to meet enough, or they are going to produce enough electricity from a small amount of fuel, so it meets the demand. No greenhouse gases are given, and as I said, the energy per kilogram of one uranium or plutonium is much higher than any other sources. Now, disadvantages. Remember Chernobyl. If there is a nuclear disaster, it's going to affect a large amount of areas. So large areas in Chernobyl is over 20 cities had to be evacuated, okay? And for a long amount of time, because the nuclear waste take millions of years to actually become safe or safer in a level that we can live with it, okay? The nuclear reactors are safe in normal operation. However, an explosion at one could release radioactive material over a wide area, affecting the areas for many years. So that is the part of the Chernobyl disasters I told you, okay? Also, the other disadvantage is that the used fuel rods contain radioactive waste and must be stored safely for centuries. And again, at the moment, we don't have a place to put them in long term, okay? So we need to figure this out. So it is definitely a disadvantage, okay? In terms of renewable energy sources, the advantages are that they are never going to run out. They don't produce greenhouse gases or acid rain, so they do not harm the environment. They are sustainable. They don't create radioactive waste products, so that's all fine. And they can also be used where the connection to the national grid is uneconomic, so when it's too expensive to connect it to the national grid. For example, think about remote areas. You can use solar cells for road signs, and you can use hydroelectricity there as well. So renewable energy sources have lots of advantages. However, they do have disadvantages as well, okay? The wind turbines, for example, they create noise that upset people that live nearby. This we are trying to get over it by getting by getting the wind turbines to be offshore, okay? Some people also consider them unsightly, and so they don't like them. They don't think they are pretty. They don't think that are nice in the landscape. They think that it ruins the landscape. The tidal barrages that you can use for hydroelectric affect river estuaries and the habitats of the creatures and plants that live there. The hydroelectric schemes need a large reservoirs of water, which can affect again nearby plant and animal life. Some habitats are often flooded to create dams, and the solar cells will need to cover large areas to generate large amounts of power. So all of these are disadvantages, and I'm picking disadvantages overall. Of course, some of them, they have further disadvantages, like not being reliable. While tides and wave and hydroelectric tend to be quite reliable, other ones like the wind and solar, you don't always know if it's going to be windy enough for you to have the blades to turn. Or the solar, if you don't have sun or at night, they will not work, okay? So some of them, we cannot rely on them. So that is also a disadvantage. On top of all of that, we cannot generate enough energy from the renewable sources to meet the current demand. So they are not enough by themselves, okay, generally speaking. So overall, and I'll put this link on the description as well if you want, overall primary sources of energy, we have the fossil fuels, the nuclear, and the renewable. The fossil fuels will run out, okay, and they produce CO2 and sulfur dioxide, so they harm the environment. The nuclear is, although it's non-renewable, we still have a lot of fuel because there is a lot of these rocks that are radioactive, but also you need only a couple of grams of fuel to generate enough energy for a long time for many people, okay? So the problem with them is not so much the running out, but the radioactive waste. But again, they are still finite, so you will have to eventually find a place or a different source to get electricity from. And finally, renewable. They are environmental friendly and they will not run out. Unfortunately, they are not able to supply for the demand that we have at the moment, okay? So here we go, a summary. I think that's all. Yeah, a summary of everything you need to know in terms of advantages and disadvantages of using these different energy resources. Pay attention that because each renewable resource has their own advantages and disadvantages, okay? This was overall, but on the other video I told you the disadvantages, okay? So up to my next video, be happy and healthy. Bye!